Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. It's May the 25th, and we're looking at 2 Chronicles 13. And today we have a description of the reign of 2 of the kings of Judah, that is the southern kingdom. We have Abijah and we have Asa. Let's look at the reign of Abijah first. In the 18th year of King Jeroboam began Abijah to reign over Judah. He reigned 3 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Milchiah, the daughter of Uriel the Gibeah, and there was war between Abijah and Jeroboam. Now Jeroboam was the king of the northern kingdom, and Abijah was the king of the southern kingdom. Abijah set the battle in array with an army of valiant men of war, 400,000 chosen men. And Jeroboam also set a battle in array against him with 800,000 chosen men, being mighty men of valor. Now, these armies were huge, and they were also incredibly skillful and courageous and strong. When it says that they were valiant men of war, we all know what that means. They were men of huge courage. They were men of great skill. And this was a battle of 2 great armies. Now, the previous king had brought peace between the northern and the southern kingdom. However, Rehoboam had managed to be averted from battle against the other kingdom. But on this occasion, the battle raged, and Abijah stood on Mount Zemaraim, which is Mount Ephraim, and said, "Hear me, thou Jeroboam, and all Israel. Ought ye not to know that the Lord God of Israel gave the kingdom over Israel to David forever, even to him and to his sons by a covenant of salt?" And he goes on, and he goes on. He explains how Rehoboam had rebelled against the southern kingdom. He says, you have golden calves. He says you have a false priesthood like the nations around you. He says, but as for us, the Lord is our God, and we have not forsaken him. And the priests which minister unto the Lord are the sons of Aaron, and the Levites wait upon their business. And they burn unto the Lord every morning and every evening burnt sacrifices and sweet incense. The showbread also they set in order upon a pure table, and a candlestick of gold with the lamps thereof to burn every evening. For we keep the charge of the Lord our God, but you have forsaken him. Now that's a very serious charge. He's just one of the parts of the people of God, but he charges the other group with heresy. He says, you have forsaken the Lord your God. In verse 12 he says, but God himself is with us for our captain, and his priests with sounding trumpets to cry alarm against you. O children of Israel, fight ye not against the Lord God of your fathers, for you shall not prosper. Jeroboam caused an ambushment to come, and when Judah went to battle, they discovered that Jeroboam was in front of them and he was behind them. So what did they do? They cried unto the Lord, and the priests sounded the trumpets, and the men of Judah gave a shout. And as the men of Judah shouted, it came to pass, God smote Jeroboam and all Israel before Abijah and Judah. The children of Israel fled before Judah, and God delivered them into their hand. And Abijah and his people slew them with a great slaughter, so that there fell slain of Israel 500,000 chosen men. 500,000 chosen men died. Thus the children of Israel were brought under at that time, and the children of Judah prevailed. Why? Because they relied upon the Lord God of their fathers. Do you know, in all of the doings of the kings of Israel and Judah, I never knew about this. I never knew that there was this great mighty battle, and that the northern kingdom was thoroughly routed, and that 500,000 men died. Neither did Jeroboam recover strength again. In the days of Abijah, the Lord struck him, and he died. And Abijah waxed mighty. He married 14 wives. He begat 22 sons and 16 daughters. And the rest of the acts of Abijah and his ways and his sayings are written in the story of the prophet Iddo. Now, Abijah slept with his fathers, it says in verse 1. So that was the reign, and that was the mighty battle of Abijah. He was a good king, and he did trust in the Lord in the day of battle, and God delivered him. Now, the next person that we have in Chronicles chapter 14 is Asa, and he also is king of the southern kingdom, Judah. Asa his son reigned in his stead. In his days the land was quiet 10 years, and Asa did that which was good and right in the eyes of the Lord his God. And he took away the altars of the strange gods and the high places, and broke down the images, and cut down the groves, and commanded Judah to seek the Lord God of their fathers, and to do the law and the commandment. Now then, let's get something straight here. Asa was never a Christian. He was never saved. Asa was king. The reason why he was king is because his father was king. And the reason why he was in this old covenant is because his father and his grandfather and his great-grandfather, right down the centuries, all the way back to Jacob, all the way back to Israel himself, he was a son of Israel. That's why he was in the old covenant. And they'd been brought into this covenant in the days of Moses. This covenant didn't mean that they were saved. It meant that they were in a relationship with God under law. And this is why Asa commands Judah to seek the Lord God of their fathers and to do the law and the commandment. So they were under the Mosaic law. They had a responsibility to keep it. And if they kept it, then the Lord preserved them. Notice verse 5, he took away out of all the cities of Judah the high places and the images, and the kingdom was quiet before him. You see, Asa brought great reform. This was one of the reformations. And he destroyed the idolatry. And he built fenced cities in Judah, for the land had rest. He had no war in those years, because the Lord gave him rest. And therefore he said unto Judah, let us build these cities, and make about them walls and towers and gates and bars, while the land is yet before us, because we have sought the Lord our God. We have sought him, and he has given us rest on every side. Asa had an army of men that bare targets and spears out of Judah, 300,000, and out of Benjamin that bare shields and drew bows, 280,000. So 260,000. These were vast armies that were combined. And then the chronicler says, and all these were mighty men of valor. These were not. This was not an army of weak men. These were mighty armies of strong men, men of valor. Valor means courage and skill and might in battle. Wow. Now we have a very interesting situation here. Zerah the Ethiopian, with a host of 1,000,000. So here we have an army of 1,000,000. Okay? It's an army of 1,000,000 that comes against Judah. Now again, this is something I never knew about. It's amazing. It's amazing what's in the Bible. So an army of 1,000,000 invades, and Zerah the Ethiopian comes. He has 300 chariots. And Asa went out against him, and they set the battle in array in the valley of Zarephath at Mareshah. And Asa cried unto the Lord his God, and said, Lord, is it nothing to thee to help, whether with many or with them that have no power? Help us, O Lord our God, for we rest on thee, and in thy name we go against this multitude. O Lord, thou art our God. Let no man prevail against thee. Now that's my password for today, verse 11. Absolutely astounding passage, and it is the secret of Asa's greatness. Anyway, so what happened? Verse 12. So the Lord smote the Ethiopians. That's what happens. And the Ethiopians fled, and the Ethiopians were overthrown, and they could not recover themselves, for they were destroyed before the Lord and before his host, for they carried away much spoil, and the fear of the Lord came upon them. And they spoiled the cities, and they took away all the cattle, and they carried away the sheep and the camels, and returned to Jerusalem. Now, in chapter 15, we have more of Asa's reforms. So here we have another reformation. There was a reformation before the great battle, and now there's going to be a reformation after it. What happened was this, verse 1. The Spirit of God came upon Azariah, the son of Obed. That's a great sign. Because you see, the Lord was going to speak to Asa, and he was going to give him instruction, and he was going to encourage him in his religious reforms. And Asa went out, and he went out to meet Asa, and he said to him, Hear ye me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin. The Lord is with you while you be with him. If you seek him, he will be found of you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. Now, this is not a new message. This is exactly the message that Solomon preached to his people. This is what David taught the people. This is what all the men of God and the great kings taught the people. This is what Moses taught the people. You see, in the Old Covenant, God was with them if they sought him. Because if they sought him, he would be found of them. But if they forsook the Lord, then the Lord would forsake them. Of course, this type of theology, this Old Testament, Old Covenant theology, is absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with Christianity. Nothing at all. Now, for a long season, Israel had been without the true God, and without a teaching priest, and without law, but when they in their trouble did turn unto the Lord God of Israel and sought him, he was found of them. And in those times there was no peace to him that went out, nor to him that came in, but great vexations were upon all the inhabitants of all countries. You see, at this particular time there was world war. Okay? There were nation was destroyed of nation, and city by city, for God did vex them all with adversity. Now here's a lovely phrase, verse 7. It could be my password today. It says, Be ye strong therefore, and let not your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. When Asa heard all these words, the words of the prophet Azariah, he took courage, and he put away the abominable idols out of all the land of Judah and Benjamin, and out of all the cities which he had taken from Mount Ephraim, and he renewed the altar of the Lord that was before the porch of the Lord. And he gathered all Judah and Benjamin and the strangers with him out of Ephraim and Manasseh and of Simeon, and they fell out to him out of Israel in abundance, when they saw that the Lord of his God was with him. So they gathered themselves together at Jerusalem in the 3rd month and the 15th year of the reign of Asa, and they offered unto the Lord the same time of the spoil that they had brought 700 oxen and 7,000 sheep. And notice this. I just love this. You see, Asa united the people, but in what way did he unite them? He united them in a religious reformation. 12. They entered into a covenant to seek the Lord God of their fathers with all their heart and with all their soul, that whosoever would not seek the Lord God of Israel shall be put to death, whether small or great, whether man or woman. And they swear unto the Lord with a loud voice, and with shouting, and with trumpets, and with cornets. And all Judah rejoiced at the oath, for they had sworn with all their heart, and they sought him with their whole desire, and he was found of them, and the Lord gave them rest round about. Wow. What a reformation. What a spiritual revival. Verse 16. Micaiah, the mother of Asa the king, he removed her from being queen. You say, what do you mean queen? Well, you see, all of the kings of Israel had their mothers sitting them upon the throne, and they were the advisors to the king. This is why, you see, the father couldn't be there because he died. That's why the son was always king. But the queen mother was always the advisor of her son. But what did Asa do? Well, he had the courage to remove her from being queen because she had made an idol in a grove. One idol in one grove. And what did Asa do? He cut down her idol and stamped it and burnt it at the brook Kidron. See, this was a wooden idol. It could burn. But the high places were not taken away out of Israel. Nevertheless, and this is the summary of Asa's life, nevertheless, the heart of Asa was perfect all his days. Now, the word perfect there means under the Old Covenant. It's a word that's used consistently throughout the Bible. It's one of the key words in the epistle to the Hebrews. The word perfect means to be someone who perfectly follows the Lord their God in the Old Covenant. Okay? Nevertheless, the heart of Asa was perfect all his days. Wow. What an amazing passage. Look forward to speaking to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.